On my 40th birthday, my husband slid a stack of papers toward me instead of a cake. Just routine updates, Mark said, smiling for the camera my younger sister was holding. Sign here, babe. Then we'll toast to you, the face of our company. 30 minutes later I walked out of the glass conference room without a job, without shares, without a marriage, and, according to the documents, without any claim to the company I had co-founded 10 years earlier. I smiled in every photo. A week after that, their calls started. 37 missed calls in one afternoon, 4 frantic voicemails, and 1 text from Mark that simply said, "Did you know they can charge us criminally for this? Please pick up." By then, it was already too late. But if you want to know how we got there, you have to go back to the night before my birthday, when I found out my own family had scheduled my execution and put balloons on it. The night before, I was lying on the office couch, shoes off, blazer over my shoulders, half asleep over a spreadsheet. We'd spent 3 months preparing the launch of our new product, an all-in-one project management platform for small construction firms. It was my baby. I had negotiated the funding, the partnerships, even the stupid branded hoodies. Our little startup, Northline Systems, was finally about to stop living invoice to invoice. At least, that's what I thought. The office was almost empty, just the cleaning crew and the hum of servers from the glass-walled server room down the hall. Mark had told me he'd be finishing up a board deck with my brother Alex and our investor, Maya, in the downstairs conference room. Technically, Maya was my friend first. We'd shared a dorm room and instant noodles, long before she had money and I had a company. She was also my daughter's godmother. I trusted her almost as much as I trusted Mark. That's probably why they waited until they thought I was gone for the night. I woke up because my phone vibrated under my cheek. A calendar notification. Tomorrow 6 p.m., Lena's birthday/launch party popper, boardroom. I rubbed my eyes and sat up. The office lights were dim to night mode, that soft bluish hue we'd installed so people could work late without feeling like lab rats. I shoved my feet back into my heels and headed for the elevator. On the way, I passed the glass wall of the server room and froze. The camera feed from the first-floor conference room was up on the large monitor. IT had turned it on earlier while testing remote meeting settings and apparently forgotten to disconnect. I was about to keep walking when I saw Mark's face on the feed. He was laughing. I stepped closer. On the screen, Mark sat at the head of the conference table, sleeves rolled up like he always did when he wanted to look hands-on for investors. Alex sat to his right, spinning a pen between his fingers. Maya was at the far end, arms folded, expression tight. I turned up the volume. "She honestly thinks tomorrow is about her," Alex said, smirking. "Launch party, birthday, all eyes on St. Lena. St. Lena. My brother hadn't called me that since high school, when I'd been the only one working 2 jobs while he bounced between majors. Mark's voice cut in, cooler. "It has to look like a celebration. The surprise is what protects us. She signs everything on camera, in front of witnesses, laughing, champagne in hand, no claim of coercion." My fingers went numb around my phone. Maya sighed. "I still don't like it. She built this place. Without Lena you'd still be coding in our parents' garage. And without me," Mark snapped, "there would be no product, no investors, no path to acquisition." Alex chuckled. "Relax, man. We're doing her a favor. She hates fundraising. She'll be thrilled to step back and focus on the family once she sees the package." Package. On screen, Mark tapped a yellow folder. The camera angle wasn't great, but I could make out words on the top document. Share transfer agreement. Founder separation plan. My name. "Walk me through it again," Maya said quietly. Mark leaned back, satisfied. "Simple. Right now Lena and I own 60% between us. Alex has 10, you have 30. Tomorrow we present it as a corporate restructuring, cleaner cap table, better for investors." He pointed to each page as he spoke. "First, she signs the updated prenup acknowledgement, retroactive to the last funding round. That lets me keep our joint shares if we ever divorce. Then she signs the temporary transfer of her founder shares to me for voting efficiency. And finally, the executive transition agreement. She resigns as CFO, moves into this nice cozy advisor role with a fixed stipend instead of equity." He smiled. "By Monday, she's out of operations, I control 60% of the company, and we can negotiate the acquisition without her slowing things down with her ethics lectures." Alex snorted. "You mean the part where she refuses to cook the books like every other startup?" "Exactly." Mark's jaw clenched. "If she sees what we did with the last round, she'll blow the whole deal." My heart hammered so hard I had to press a hand against the glass to steady myself. Maya's voice dropped. "You already moved the money?" "Most of it," Mark said. The consulting entity in Delaware invoices us for market research. Alex signs off, I approve, and the funds land where they need to be. Once the acquisition closes, we pay it back quietly. No harm done. Unless it doesn't close, Maya said. It will, he insisted. Atlas Ventures wants us. They made that clear. Clean founder structure, strong IP, and no emotional variables. He curled his lip around the last words. That's why she has to be out. On screen, my brother leaned forward. And the apartment? My apartment. Technically, our apartment. Mark shrugged. Already filed. Mortgage refinance in my name only. She's been clicking DocuSign links for weeks without reading. Tomorrow we get the last signatures, and we're done. Maya rubbed her forehead. She's going to be devastated. Alex rolled his eyes. Come on. She's resilient. She'll cry, take some yoga classes, start a podcast about reinventing yourself at 40. Meanwhile we actually do something with this company. The three of them laughed. I didn't cry. Not then. I just stood in the dark hallway, listening to the people I loved talk about me like a problem they were finally solving. Eventually the cleaning lady's cart squeaked behind me, making me jump. Sorry, Ms. Lena, she whispered, pushing past. I forced my legs to move. My office was only 20 steps away, but that walk felt like miles. I closed the door, locked it, and sat at my desk without turning on the overhead light. The city was a reflection of gold and blue in the floor-to-ceiling windows, our logo glowing on the building across the street. Northline Systems. The company I'd built from my kitchen table while my daughter napped in a second-hand stroller. My hands shook as I opened my bottom drawer and pulled out a thin blue folder I hadn't touched in over a year. Contingency, it was labeled in my own handwriting. Because the thing about building a company from nothing is, you learn to plan for worst-case scenarios. Investors backing out. Markets crashing. Hard drives dying. People leaving. I just never expected the people leaving part to include my own husband, my brother, and my best friend, all at once, with knives in their hands. I stared at the folder for a long time before I opened it. Inside was a list of contacts, an auditor I trusted, a lawyer who'd once told me, half joking, if Mark ever does anything stupid, call me first, and the name of a forensic accountant a client had used during his messy business divorce. Back when I wrote that list, it had felt dramatic, paranoid, even. Now it felt like the only thing standing between me and total erasure. I picked up my phone, took one steadying breath, and dialed the first number. Tomorrow, they would hand me papers and think they were ending my story. They had no idea they were just giving me evidence. I didn't sleep the night before my birthday. Not because I was panicking, because I was planning. By sunrise, the blue folder on my desk wasn't a contingency plan anymore. It was an operation. And I was done pretending not to see the truth. Mark thought I would walk into that room clueless. He had no idea I'd already spoken with a corporate attorney at 6 in the morning, a forensic accountant at 7, and a former CTO mentor by 8. He didn't know I'd forwarded copies of all our financial files, including the consulting invoices he thought were hidden, to a secure offline drive. And he definitely didn't know the board camera feed had recorded every word of their little strategy session last night. In HD. All I had to do now was play my part. By late afternoon, the office was decorated with gold streamers and LED candles. My sister had arranged charcuterie on the conference table like we were celebrating a merger, not a mutiny. 2 developers were hanging up a banner that read "Happy Birthday Lena," in bold teal letters. Everyone was smiling. Everyone except Maya. She stood near the window, arms tight, eyes darting toward the hallway every few seconds. When she finally saw me, her expression flickered, guilt, fear, something like apology, but she didn't move toward me. She couldn't. Not without tipping her hand. Birthday girl. Mark's voice boomed behind me. He smelled like cologne and panic. Come on, we have a surprise for you. Everyone clapped as he guided me toward the long conference table. Cameras everywhere. Phones recording. My sister practically vibrating with excitement. I wondered if she'd rehearsed her lines with them. Mark pulled out a chair for me, the head of the table. The irony was almost poetic. He cleared his throat dramatically, performing. Lena, we're here to celebrate you. 10 years of building this company. 10 years of leadership. Alex stepped closer, grinning like a man about to win the lottery. And today, we want to give you something special. My sister raised her phone and started recording. Smile, Lena. I smiled. Mark slid a thick yellow folder toward me. This is the next chapter for us. I opened it slowly, pretending to read each page for the first time. My heart rate didn't change once. Alex leaned in. It's just some routine updates. Simplifies the ownership structure. Simplifies, meaning, I sign, they own everything. Mark gestured toward the signature lines with a pen I had bought him for our 5th anniversary. Just sign here, here, and here. Then we can toast. You'll still be part of the team, my sister chirped. Kind of like an advisor. More free time, less stress. Maya winced. Mark beamed. This is honestly what's best for all of us. You can relax more. And I can focus on the acquisitions. A few employees clapped politely. Everyone thought this was a celebration. Everyone except the 3 people orchestrating it. And me, the woman they were trying to erase. I lifted my eyes to Mark's, calm as glass. You want me to sign all of this, I said softly. Mark nodded. Just formalities. And you're sure this is the right decision? He smiled, relieved. Absolutely. Good, I said. Because then you won't mind if I sign everything on camera. The room fell silent. Mark blinked. That's the whole point, Lena. I nodded slowly. Of course. Then I signed. All of it. Page after page, line after line, steady, smooth, without hesitation. My sister whispered, wow, she's really taking this well. Alex shot Mark a triumphant look. Maya stared at the table, jaw tight. When I finished, I placed the pen down gently. That's it? Mark asked, already exhaling in relief. That's it, I said. He clapped once, loud and satisfied. Great. Drinks, everyone. Let's celebrate. I stood up. Mark froze mid-sentence. Alex frowned. Where are you going? I smiled again, genuine, warm, dangerous. Home. I have an early meeting. Maya's head snapped up. A meeting? With whom? Mark asked sharply. A few people, I said. Some who have questions. Their faces shifted, confusion into suspicion, suspicion into fear. I leaned down so only the 3 of them could hear me. Next time you plan a corporate coup, I whispered, remember to disconnect the conference room camera feed. Mark went pale. Alex's mouth dropped open. Maya's hand flew to her chest. I straightened, grabbed my coat, and walked out of the room as everyone sang an off-key happy birthday behind me, oblivious to the implosion happening at that table. When the elevator doors closed, I finally let out a breath. Tomorrow morning, by 9 a.m., they would understand exactly what I meant. And by then, nothing they did would save them. By the time the sun rose the next morning, Mark and Alex still had no idea what was coming. But Maya did. She was the only one who texted me at 7:12 a.m. Maya, we need to talk. Please. Me, after my meetings. Maya, Lena, they don't know what you know. You need to be careful. Me, I am. I wasn't angry at Maya. Not yet. But I had no time for apologies or regrets. Not this morning. Because my first meeting started at 8 a.m. sharp. 8 a.m. The attorney, James Ortega, corporate attorney, ex-DOJ, terrifyingly calm, sat across from me in a small private conference room at his firm. I handed him a flash drive. He plugged it in, watched the video of Mark, Alex, and Maya planning my removal, didn't blink once. Then he looked at the financial statements, the consulting invoices, the transfers, the side accounts, the hidden ledger I'd found in Mark's email folder labeled archive_do_not_touch. When the video ended, James leaned back in his chair. This is catastrophic. For them, I said quietly. For anyone involved, he corrected. Your brother, your husband, and your investor. But not you. You documented everything correctly? I documented everything. He closed the laptop. Good. Because what they did isn't corporate restructuring. It's calculated fraud. And the moment you signed those documents last night, every liability transferred exclusively to Mark. I exhaled slowly. That was what I needed to hear. Next, he said, you need protection. And you're about to get it. 9 a.m. The forensic accountant. Sophia Patel looked like she could dismantle a Fortune 500 company before lunch and still make it to yoga by 5. She reviewed the documents with a focused intensity that made my pulse quicken. After 40 minutes, she closed her notebook. Your husband and brother have been siphoning money for at least a year, she said. Possibly 2. 37 transactions point to deliberate embezzlement. She flipped a page. And these invoices? Completely fabricated. The Delaware consulting firm doesn't exist. I nodded. I suspected. You didn't suspect, she corrected, tapping the drive with one manicured finger. You proved. That's why you're going to walk out of this clean, while they're going to drown. Good, I said. But that's not the worst of it. She tapped another sheet. These transfers were done under your name. My throat tightened. If you hadn't confronted this now, she said, the IRS would have assumed you were the architect of the fraud. Mark hadn't just stolen my company. He'd tried to make me the fall guy. I went cold all the way to my fingertips. Sophia leaned forward. You understand what this means, right? When this goes public, every agency we alert will view you as the whistleblower. Exactly what I want. She smiled slowly. Then let's set the dominoes. 11 a.m. The meeting that changed everything. James, the attorney, Sophia, the accountant, and I sat together in one room. 3 laptops, 5 folders, 14 evidence packets. By 11:30 a.m., we had prepared a full forensic report for federal regulators, a tax fraud packet for the IRS, a corporate misconduct report for the state, an investor fraud packet for Atlas Ventures, the company trying to acquire us, a whistleblower submission, a complaint to the board of directors, everything timestamped, everything documented, everything irrefutable. When the last digital file uploaded to the encrypted server, James looked at me. You ready for the fallout? I've been ready since last night. He nodded. Press send. I pressed. There was no dramatic sound, no explosion, but in that moment, I ended my husband's career, my brother's career, and Maya's involvement in the company I built. Not out of revenge. Out of necessity. 12:14 p.m. The first call. Mark called me 3 times back to back. I didn't answer. On the 4th attempt, I let it go to voicemail. His voice was tight, strained. Lena, the board just emailed me. Something's wrong with our filings. Call me back now. 2 minutes later, he texted. Mark, the accounts froze. Did you change something? Mark, where are you? Mark, call me now. I turned my phone face down. 12:40 p.m. Maya breaks first. She didn't call. She showed up, burst straight through the side door of the cafe I was sitting in. Hair messy, eyes red, blazer half-buttoned. Lena, please, listen. She slid into the seat across from me, breathing hard. They're spiraling. The board is demanding answers. Atlas pulled out of the acquisition. And Alex, oh my God, Alex told Mark you must have overheard us. I stayed silent. She grabbed my hand. I didn't want this. I told them not to push you like that. I never agreed to the fake invoices. I didn't take any money. I believed her. But that didn't mean she was innocent. Maya, I said quietly, you knew. Her eyes filled. I didn't know how far they went. You knew enough. She swallowed. What happens now? That's up to the investigators. She flinched. Lena, she whispered, voice shaking. Are you trying to destroy them? I looked her dead in the eyes. They destroyed themselves. 1:07 p.m. The first notification hits. James texted me. James, state regulators just opened a case. News outlets will pick it up within the hour. Be somewhere private. 2 minutes later. James, also, prepare for backlash. They're not going to react well. He didn't have to tell me. Because my phone started lighting up again. Mark. Alex. Mark. Alex. Private number. Mark. Unknown, probably bored. Alex. Mark. Voicemails piling up. Some angry. Some panicked. One hysterical. I didn't listen. I didn't need to. Because 3 minutes later, my lock screen flashed. Mark, they suspended me. What did you do? Then, Alex, you ruined us. They're saying criminal charges. Pick up the phone. Then, Maya, Lena, please. Please answer. They're unraveling. I turned off my phone. 2:30 p.m. The public explosion. James's final text came through before my phone shut down. James, it's out. Channel 4 picked up the story. Tech startup under federal investigation. They're done. I walked to the window of the cafe. Outside, people moved normally. Cars passed. Someone bought a latte. A cyclist nearly hit a mailbox. But in one office building across town, the company I had built, the earth was cracking open under my husband and brother's feet. And I hadn't even used the most incriminating evidence yet. That was for later, when the damage became irreversible. By 3 p.m. Mark left the 10th voicemail. Lena, please, this is out of control. Just tell me where you are. We can fix this. You don't understand what you've done. You don't understand who you've just screwed with. He didn't know. He didn't understand. Not yet. But he would. Because this wasn't the end of their collapse. It was only the first crack. By the next morning, Mark had gone from furious to frightened. People always think the worst stage of collapse is the moment the news breaks, the investigators arrive, the headlines explode. They're wrong. The worst part is the morning after, when reality sinks in and there's no one left to blame. That morning, Mark tried anyway. 7:42 a.m. The knock. I was staying in a business hotel on the east side of the city, clean, anonymous, the kind of place where guests check in with one suitcase and a story they don't want to tell. I was sipping coffee when someone knocked. 3 fast knocks. A pause. Then 2 more. Mark's knock. I didn't move. He knocked again, louder. Lena. Open the door. I know you're in there. My pulse stayed steady. I wasn't scared of him. But I wasn't giving him access to my space ever again. His voice shifted, anger fading into something almost desperate. Lena, please, they suspended me. The board froze my access. I can't get into the office building. Investors won't answer. Atlas backed out of the acquisition. My name is trending, for the worst possible reason. Silence. Then he said the line I'd been waiting for. They think I stole the money. You did, I thought. More knocking. Harder this time. We can fix this. You didn't have to go nuclear. Lena, just open the door and talk to me. I walked into the bathroom so I wouldn't hear him. Eventually, he stopped. I watched him from the peephole as he typed furiously on his phone, hit send, then ran a hand through his hair like a man trying to tear out the past 12 years. Then he left. The text arrived seconds later. Mark, we're meeting at noon. All of us. Don't make this worse. I didn't reply. None of them understood. The storm had already passed. Now came the consequences. 9 a.m. The public implosion. I turned on the TV to a local news channel. There it was. Our company's bright teal logo, blinking like an accusation behind the anchor. Breaking news. Northline Systems under federal investigation for fraud, misappropriation of funds, and investor misrepresentation. They showed footage of investigators entering our office building, carrying boxes, walking past the reception desk I'd chosen the wood for myself. Then, Mark. He was trying to push microphones away while reporters shouted questions. Did you falsify financial records? Why were company funds routed to a Delaware entity? Are you cooperating with investigators? Where is your wife, the co-founder? Is it true she leaked the documents? Mark's face twisted. No comment. Alex appeared behind him, pale and sweating, trying to avoid eye contact with cameras. Maya was nowhere on screen. Interesting. 10:15 a.m. Maya jumped ship. My phone buzzed again. I finally turned it on. A message from Maya. Maya, I need to see you. Please. I'm done with them. 5 minutes later, she was in the hotel lobby wearing jeans, no makeup, hair tied back. The first time in years I'd seen her look like the person I used to share microwaved noodles with. She sat across from me, shoulders tense, fingers twisting a napkin. I quit, she said. I know. She exhaled shakily. They're collapsing. Mark blamed Alex. Alex blamed Mark. Then they both blamed me. And what did you say? That they did it to themselves. I nodded. True. Her voice lowered. Lena, they're scared of you. Good. She swallowed. What happens next? Next, I said, the agencies do their job. Maya stared at me for a long moment. Then, I want to help you. I should have told you sooner, but Mark pressured me. Alex threatened to cut me out of the next round. I was stupid. I didn't forgive her. Not yet. But I didn't reject her either. Because every collapse creates survivors. And every survivor chooses a side. You'll testify? I asked. Yes. Then we're done here. She nodded, eyes shining. Thank you. But I hadn't thanked her. Not yet. 11:03 a.m. Alex breaks. I was leaving the lobby when my phone vibrated again. Alex, I need to talk to you. Please answer. I'm screwed. Mark told investigators it was all my idea. He threw me under the bus. My brother. The man who used to copy my homework and call me mini CEO when we were kids. The man who laughed while planning my humiliation less than 48 hours ago. Now begging. I didn't respond. 20 seconds later. Alex, I have everything. Copies of the emails. Mark's texts about the transfers. Maya's messages. If you help me, I'll turn on Mark. Please. I'm desperate. Ah. There it was. Fear. The great truth serum. I turned the phone off again. 12 p.m. The meeting I didn't attend. Mark had told me, we're meeting at noon. Don't make this worse. Actually, I made it worse by not going. Because at exactly 12:07 p.m., while they were in some downtown cafe screaming at each other, the big news dropped. Regulators had filed for an emergency injunction. The company's accounts would remain frozen, assets locked. Mark and Alex banned from accessing any operational systems. The headline hit every tech outlet within minutes. Northline Systems co-founder off the grid during fraud inquiry. I, apparently, was off the grid. Good. Exactly where I wanted to be. Mark called again, 5 times. Then, Mark, Lena, please. They think you're cooperating with investigators. They think you're building a case. They think you leaked the financials. Mark, tell me you didn't. Mark, please. I didn't tell him anything. I didn't owe him anything. 1:22 p.m. The call that ended everything. A voicemail from James. Lena, it's done. IRS, SEC, and state regulators are coordinating. They received your documentation this morning. You're protected as a whistleblower. Investigators want formal statements tomorrow. Mark and Alex are officially targets of inquiry. And Lena, one more thing. A pause. You need to see what Mark did with the last round of funding. It's bigger than we thought. Bigger? I sat down slowly, pulse ticking. What could be bigger than embezzlement? James continued. There are bribes involved. Improper payments. Potentially falsified safety certifications for software being used in construction sites. Lena, if the investigators confirm this, Mark isn't looking at fines. He paused again, voice hardening. He's looking at prison. My breath caught. Not because I felt pity, but because the full picture was finally becoming clear. This wasn't the end of Mark's collapse. It was the beginning of his ruin. And I wasn't done yet. By the time the fifth morning arrived, I no longer felt like someone who had been betrayed. I felt like someone who had survived. And survival changes you. The woman Mark tried to erase no longer existed. The one who took her place was sharper, colder, and frighteningly clear-headed. This is where everything ended for them. And everything began for me. 9 a.m. The federal building. The conference room was plain, windowless, and deliberately neutral. Two investigators sat across from me, a federal fraud specialist and a state-level financial crimes attorney. James, my lawyer, sat beside me. A recorder clicked on. They asked questions. I answered calmly. Dates, transactions, files, recordings. Every lie Mark told. Every transfer Alex authorized. Every invoice Maya signed without reading. It took 2 hours. When it was finished, the investigator leaned forward. Ms. Reed, your cooperation has been extremely helpful. You have nothing to worry about. I nodded. I already knew that. 11:34 a.m. The arrests. James and I were walking through the lobby when the news alerts hit. Northline Systems co-founder detained in fraud inquiry. State investigators arrest Alexander Reed, brother of CEO Mark Reed. Mark Reed facing charges tied to misuse of investor funds. And then the one that made me stop in my tracks. Federal prosecutors investigating potential bribery scheme in Northline Systems safety approvals. He did it to himself. Everything he touched, lied about, manipulated, it had finally caught up. James showed me a photo on his phone of Mark being escorted out of our office building in handcuffs. His suit jacket crooked. His belt missing. His expression hollow. He wasn't angry anymore. He was afraid. Exactly the way he'd wanted me to look when I signed those papers. 12:15 p.m. Alex breaks completely. Alex's arrest was less dramatic but more chaotic. He was dragged out of his apartment barefoot, still shouting at whoever he was on the phone with. Probably me. Investigators had confiscated his laptop, his phone, and the external drive where he'd hidden all of the messages Mark begged him to delete. The same messages he'd tried to use to bargain with me. Too late. The moment the agents put him in the back of the car, Alex's face finally showed it, the horror of realizing he wasn't the smartest man in the room after all. 1 p.m. Maya's turn. Maya wasn't arrested. She walked into the precinct voluntarily. She asked for a lawyer. She asked for leniency. And she told the truth. Everything. What she knew. What she ignored. What she regretted. Investigators took her statement and released her pending review. She came out looking 10 years older, but lighter, as if guilt had finally peeled off her shoulders. She didn't see me waiting for my ride across the street. I didn't approach her. Some distance is meant to stay. 3:40 p.m. The house. The house Mark and I had once shared was no longer ours. The mortgage refinance he'd filed without my knowledge was frozen pending investigation. A notice was taped to the door. Property under federal review. No entry. Through the window, I saw our old couch, our photo frames, the shelves I'd designed myself. Stuck in limbo. Just like Mark's future. I didn't feel sadness. I felt nothing. Like the house belonged to strangers. Because it did. 5:10 p.m. My daughter. I hadn't mentioned her before, because she wasn't part of this betrayal. She had just turned 15 and lived 3 hours away with her father, my ex from long before Mark. I called her. She picked up on the second ring. Mom? Are you okay? I saw something online. I'm fine, I said. Better than I've been in years. She was silent for a moment. Are you coming to visit? Yes, I told her. I'm starting fresh. And I want you to be part of it. Her voice softened. Good. I miss you. Those words hurt more than anything Mark had done. Because they were real. And they mattered. 7 p.m. The rooftop. Rebecca, the mentor who became my ally, invited me to a private rooftop lounge overlooking the skyline. Warm light. quiet music. A view of the city that didn't feel threatening anymore. She handed me a folder. Partnership agreement, she said. This time with people who actually value you. I opened it. Simple, clear, fair. My name listed as equal partner. The first time in my professional life that my title wasn't tied to a man or a family name. I signed without hesitation. Rebecca raised her glass. To rebuilding. To rebuilding, I echoed. But rebuilding wasn't the right word. This wasn't reconstruction. It was rebirth. 10:32 p.m. The last message from Mark. I was back in my hotel room when my phone buzzed. One new voicemail. From an unknown number, but I recognized the broken voice instantly. Lena, it's me. I don't know where else to call. Lena, they froze everything. The lawyers say I could be indicted. They say I might. He swallowed audibly. Lena, I'm begging you, please. I need you. I need help. I don't know. I don't know what to do. Please. You can stop this. You know you can. You always fixed everything for us. Just tell them I didn't mean. A shaky breath. Please pick up. Please. I deleted it. Without hesitation. Without guilt. Without a trace of the woman who once saved him from every mistake. He had removed me from his life first. I simply honored his decision. Midnight, the true ending. I stood at the hotel window, watching the city lights flicker like fireflies trapped in glass towers. Down below, life went on. People walked. Cars passed. Buildings hummed. And somewhere in a holding cell or interrogation room, Mark and Alex were finally facing consequences they had sworn would never touch them. They had tried to take my company, my home, my future. Instead, they lost everything. And me? I got something better than revenge. I got my freedom, my daughter, my career, my identity, my peace. I had rebuilt a life from the ashes of their betrayal, stronger, clearer, and wholly my own. That was the real victory, not their collapse, my rise. And this time, no one could take it from me.